So we are diving into the January updates when it comes to the Portland market in 2023. Now, with the rates that the way they have been in the past couple months, it has definitely caused a lot of uncertainty with buyers, and a lot of people are wondering where the heck are things going right now. Now, with that, let's dive into the interest rates, and as you can see, we are around 6 and 0.15% in terms of those interest rates, and we kind of got to the peak in the November-October timeframe at around that 7.08. Right now, more on a local level, we're hovering in this interest rate that's closer to the 6.25 to 6.5%. And depending on whether or not it's a VA or FHA loan, this might be in the fives as well. So just kind of keep in mind that the interest rates are going down. The main reason for this has been because we have seen a decrease in the inflation numbers. So we had a peak back in June, and we have continually seen these numbers start to go down. We're now sitting around 6.5%, and we're going to probably continue to see the Fed keep the interest rates where they're at right now. And so we're sitting about 6.5%, and if we continue this trend on, they'll probably keep interest rates where they're at right now, and then we'll probably see those rates continue to drop over time in the actual market. So over this year, there's a lot of estimates of whether or not we'll probably see those interest rates drop in the end of Q4 or sometime during that for 2023 into the beginning of Q1 of 2024. So just keep that in mind that interest rates will probably continue to move downwards. And if we're looking at the pending sales, we are still relatively low starting in 2023. And this is looking more at the week by week. We'll probably see this start to pick up. But in general, we're just going to see a lot less transactions happening. A big reason for this is the fact that when you look at the mortgage holders within Oregon right now, about 90.8% of them have a interest rate that is lower than 5%. So it doesn't make sense for them to move laterally. And there still will be transactions because there will be deaths, there will be divorces, and there will be kids being born. So people want to upgrade or jump into the housing market. And just note that that is going to continue to be, there's still going to be transactions. There's just not going to be as many. So with that, we also saw a huge rise in the median days on market. Now, this is seasonal, so just know that when we are entering into the winter months, that median days on market will extend, as you can see here, and then a little bit here in the 2021 line. So with that, we'll probably see the median days on market start to come down here shortly. We're already seeing a lot of buyer activity. One of the listings that we put on recently had 6 offers, and starting to really see a lot of home buyers come out, and especially first-time home buyers in that maybe 400 to 650 range that are really wanting to jump into a house. So that demand is a lot higher versus looking at the 800 and above price points where there's a little less demand there as well. So diving into months of supply, we hit about 2.1 months of inventory, and we still need quite a bit more in order to really create a more balanced market. One thing that people are freaking out about is the new construction months of supply, and yes, on a national level, they are closer to about 8.6 to 8.9 months of inventory. However, on a local aspect, we're closer to about 2 months of inventory when it comes to new construction. So with this, I do expect the prices to either stabilize or maybe slightly dip, but there's definitely going to be a little bit more of a price depreciation when it comes to the higher value properties. Now, the median sale price has dropped pretty significantly. Through this, the main reason for the median price to drop was just readjusting to the seller's expectations, and you saw a lot of price cuts in the fall because of the fact that sellers just hadn't understood the fact that the market had changed so drastically. I do see us getting to a point where we're going to have these values that are going to be closer to 2021 values, and maybe a little bit below that, but that's kind of the baseline I'm expecting moving forward. Now, let's dive into the more local data. This is going to be for the Portland market, we are still seeing this median list price around 599, so around that 600 mark. The days on market, or the median days on market, have been around 84. So that's been pretty large. And then in terms of the price decreases, we have seen a large amount of those have those price decreases. Again, sellers adjusting to the fact of, okay, there's not going to be as much wiggle room with this. And inventory has still kind of fallen, but we do expect that to start picking up here in the next couple of months just because of the seasonality. So keep that in mind. Diving into Beaverton, we're seeing a little bit of a higher market action index, and the median days on market is still a little bit high. So this is close to 3 months. Now, again, we're probably going to see these decrease, and depending on what price range you're looking at, there might be more or less demand. I'm starting to see a lot of demand, especially in that Bethany area, where we're having a lot of multiple offer situations versus some other price points where once you're reaching that $800 to $1 million mark, there's just not as much competition, and you're starting to see those sit for a longer period of time. So just keep that in mind. And then moving on to Hillsboro, the median price is still relatively elevated at 670 or 697. And then we see these median days on market around 70. And then when it comes to the Tigard, we're still sitting at a little bit of a higher median price, and 817, the median days on market is around 70. And we're still seeing a little bit more of an inventory bump there versus a couple of the other places we've been taking a look at. Milwaukie has actually gotten a little less inventory, but the median days on market has been a little bit shorter. This is a lot more of where the first-time home buyers coming in, and there's a lot more demand. For example, I just put an offer on a place that was around the 500 mark, and it went about 23 over asking. So just know that sometimes we're getting to a point where the listing agent might have this strategy where they're going to price it a little bit below, so that way they can get to the point where they can have a little bit more when it comes to the amount of offers that come on and the speed of that transaction. So keep that in mind. And again, the pricing strategy, or the list price, is just a pricing strategy, so it's not the end-all be-all. Now, moving into Gresham, we're seeing that the median list price is around 522. The average days on market is around 89, and the median days on market about 84. So again, we're still in this point in general looking at things where the buyer does have some of the control. They can ask for repairs, they can ask for closing costs, but it's not to the point where the buyer can demand everything. That was maybe a couple months ago where they can demand quite a bit more, but now that we've gotten to the point where people are now wanting to buy and having the ability to buy, then we're probably going to see less and less of that, and there's going to be a rise in competition. I have a lot of first-time home buyers who are ready to go, and they're just kind of waiting for the right inventory to pop up. So even with that, I do expect a lot more competition starting up in the springtime. Whether or not we'll see a lot more inventory come onto the market will be a different factor. And then looking into the Lake Oswego market, the median price obviously for this is a lot higher in that 2.265 million, and then we are starting to see a little bit more the price decreases, and the median days on market is 123. Again, we're dealing with a different price bracket, so there's going to be less qualified buyers that can purchase this level of property. Now, when it comes to the advice to the buyer side of things, I definitely think that you should at least be taking a look with your lender, and if you need recommendations for that, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to at least have that conversation. And if you have that conversation, you'll be able to really understand what is going to be needed for you to buy that home. And also looking at the rate buy downs where they have the 2-1 programs. If you have any questions about that, I can guide you to another lender who can definitely do those. But those have been really helpful for buyers, along with also seeing if you can up the price and then have those closing costs covered. So just know that overall for buyers, there's still some more negotiation that can happen that may not be as easy later on into the spring. One thing I'm going to ask is to leave a comment down below as to why you are deciding to buy or why you are not deciding to buy, and what's kind of the motivation there. Now, for sellers, pricing is going to be very, very key. Making sure that you understand the fact that if you put a lower price on that property, that it will attract more buyers much faster, but you have to be okay with the fact that you might not be getting as much for the property, but we have just changed so much in terms of circumstances. So making sure you get as much of that punch list done as possible will be extremely beneficial. When it comes to the investor side of things, we are still seeing those rates relatively high. They're anywhere between a point to 2 points above the interest rates. So start looking at opportunities, especially for house hackers, to look at single families where you can then have an ADU, or maybe if you're in this point of life where you can have roommates, renting out those rooms might be a great benefit. The whole point of house hacking is to save money on what you might have been spending on rent. So for example, if you were to rent a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, that's probably going to cost you around $1,200 to maybe $1,500. Depending on what area you're in. But if you can find maybe a 2 or 3-bedroom place where you can then rent out that portion, or even if you want to go a little bit more extreme and have 4 or 5 bedrooms, that might be a benefit for you where you can rent out those rooms, maybe a grand each, and you'll be able to get that return a lot faster. So these are things where you're going to have to be a little bit more creative, especially if you're looking to house hack. If you found this content helpful whatsoever, it would be great if you could hit that like button or subscribe. It helps my channel out a ton. Let me know if you have any other questions whatsoever. I'd be more than happy to answer those, and thank you so much for watching.